What is being married really like? So, I decided to answer 13 questions about what marriage is really like. I chose 13 questions because we've been married 13 years, and it will be, let's see, it'll be 14 years in July. Sorry, I had to count just to make sure I was right. Um, but it is one of those things where I never ever imagined that I would be married, and to be married to someone who is my soulmate and who we've been able to work through everything that has come our way to be able to make marriage last. So I wanted to share a little bit of our story. So the first question is, how did you meet? Um, we met in high school. We didn't immediately date. We started off just kind of being phone friends, if you remember what that's like in high school, just chit chatting on the phone. And it evolved. It turned into me realizing that I did have feelings for him. And yeah, that's what happened. Number two, how long did you wait to get married? We um like I said, we met in high school, so we dated all throughout high school, and he is actually a year under me in school, but only 6 months younger. So we felt like we were the same age, and in fact, in a lot of ways, he was more mature. He had always kept a job and things like that. So when I graduated high school, due to those people who I thought were my friends that I spoke about in my last video, I ended up breaking up with him. And I look back on it and it was not a good decision. However, I don't regret the experiences that we had for those 2 years that we were broken up. I believe it was 2 years. I mean, looking back, I can't calculate exactly, but it was about 2 years that we were broken up. Um, and we went to different colleges that were 2 hours away from each other and dated other people. And then we ended up being friends, and the feelings came right back, and so of course we ended up right back together. Number three, were there any obstacles to you getting married? Um, we both came from family backgrounds where it wasn't, one of those things where you just knew you had to get married, and you grew up and you met that person and you got married. And so we were living together for a couple of years, and we had no plans on getting married. We were just thought that that's the way we were supposed to do our life until we both went back to church, because we spent a couple of years away from church, kind of away from God. I still was always in like the gospel choir in college and was drawn to God, but we were living our own way. We were living together, not being married, and we went back to church. And that is when that church started discipling us and sat us down and was like, you really are supposed to be married. This is what the Bible says, and this is how God's plan is. So since you're living together, you're in love, you know you're in love, you might as well get married. And so we did. There were obstacles because we didn't have any money to get married. We were living at his father's house at the time, so we didn't have the funds to get married. However, our church came together and provided pretty much the entire wedding for free. Carl had to still pay for his tux rental, and we paid for our rings, and that was pretty much it. They provided everything else. There was a lady there that made our flower arrangements, that decorated. There was a lady that made the cake. The pastor's wife went and got my dress from it was like a thrift store, but it was a higher end thrift store that has like name brand clothes, and this dress was like a model dress. It was not, had not even been worn, so it was perfect, and it came together. We were engaged for 3 months, and then, a very short engagement. So yeah, 3 months. Number four, how was your wedding? Um, my wedding was amazing. I mean, it came together great. We had a live band that was a friend of ours. He led that band, and so he came and played for us. But then we also had some tracks that we used. I came down to a track which was commissioned and it's called One Love by Commissioned, and it skipped on my way out, but other than that, it went smoothly, and it was a hot, hot day in July. That's the best thing I can say. Number 5. What do you wish you had known before you got married? I wish that we had done some sort of marital counseling and sat down and kind of gathered our ideas on what it is that we wanted for the future. If we had, prior talked about how many children we wanted, what type of financial wealth we wanted to try to build together, or what we were bringing into the marriage as far as financial burden and those types of things. I wish that we had done that, just because those things came up in the years to come. However, they came when it was not convenient, and they came when there was a crisis that needed to be taken care of. Excuse me. Number 6. Any recommendations? Like I said, I do recommend premarital counseling, and I recommend that you do it with someone that you trust and that has a wonderful, loving marriage and has been married for years, and not only married for years, but happily married for years, and have them walk you through the 5 love languages are a great thing to do before you get married. And then there's a book called For Women Only, and I believe they made a male version for men only, and those are great books for both parties to read and just to understand how the other person, I was going to say species, because sometimes it feels like you're 2 different species, like you're from different planets, but it would be good to learn those things before you get married, and then you have to bring them up, many times. I would say maybe once a year you could refresh yourself and your knowledge on those books. Number 7, what are your favorite marriage quotes? I have been doing some searching on the internet because I knew I wanted to do this video, and here are some of the ones that I found that I really love, and I've posted some of these on my Instagram. If you follow my Instagram, you'll recognize a couple of them. But the first one that really stood out to me, and this took 10 years of marriage before I really got this concept. In every disagreement with your spouse, remember that there is not a winner and a loser. You are united in everything, so you will either win together or lose together. Work together to find a solution where you'll both win, because honestly, there's never a winner and never a loser. If you lose, you both lose. If you win, you both win. And so that's a great, great thing to learn, that you're fighting on the same team and that you're not fighting against each other, even though sometimes you have conflict. Conflict is very natural. So yes, you're going to have conflict and disagreements, but it's learning to rewire your brain to think as 2 instead of 1. Another one, a strong marriage rarely has 2 strong people at the same time. It is a husband and wife who take turns being strong for each other in the moments when the other feels weak. There will always be times where you have to kind of balance or lift each other up, and there will be times when, sometimes you'll feel strong together, but not very often. It's usually one is helping the other through a situation or a mood or whatever. And this is my last favorite one, although I have lots and lots of them. Be very careful where you get marriage advice. If someone doesn't love marriage, love God, love you, and love your spouse, they will not consistently give you healthy advice. That is one mistake that some people make, is running to a person who they know is just going to say, see, I never liked him, I never liked her, and I told you, you should have never married them. They usually run to that person whenever they're having conflict because they want that confirmation that they're right. And that is never a good idea. You always want to seek out someone in your marriage that is wanting to see the best for everyone in the situation, and they will always give you good sound advice. And I thank God for my friends that I'm able to speak to. So, what is the next question? Number 8. How did you know you were ready to get married? Um, well, when it was brought up to us from our pastor, we knew that we wanted to be together. We knew that there was nothing that was going to separate us, that we were going to continue to be together. So that was what made us know that yes, we were destined to be married and be together for the rest of our lives. When we broke up for 2 years and dated other people, it was nobody. And let me tell you, we dated a lot. I mean, I'm going to speak for myself, although my husband will say he didn't date a lot. And I don't mean in the fact of sleeping around or anything like that, because I'm proud to say that my husband is my one and only person that I lost my virginity to and have always been with. However, I dated a lot in college. Somebody wanted to go out, I'd go out, I'd try to get to know them, and none of them compared to him and to what the feelings that we have and the bond that we have. So that was a very big indicator that we were supposed to be married. Number 10, marriages that I look up to. I have quite a few that I look up to, although there are people that I know personally that I've just watched them and how they interact in their marriages, and the fact that they love each other regardless, even when you see them going through a tough time and you can tell they're not quite in agreement on some situations. You can just see the love that they have for each other. My pastor and his wife are definitely a great example of a great marriage, and my pastor is he jokes a whole lot, and so it's pretty funny to see their personalities, because she's a little more quiet and conservative, and he is definitely not, and so he opens up a lot about marriage and God's ideal for marriage, and the fact that it's supposed to be a beautiful, wonderful thing, and it's not always perfect. It's not always sunshine and roses, but you work through it and you learn that person is the person who will always have your back, who you can always come to no matter what. How old were you when you got married? I was 23 and he was 22. And, some people say that was young, but it doesn't feel young to us. We felt like we had been together forever already. I mean, we went to prom and homecoming together in high school, and, it had been a while, so we felt like an old married couple already. And we were 25 and 24 when we had our first child. After about a year of marriage, I started getting the itch, and I started saying, I think I'm ready to have a baby, and I'm going to stop taking my birth control. And the next month I was pregnant, so I learned really quickly that I was very fertile, and we welcomed my first child, my daughter, Sarai, and then a year and a half later, 17 months later, we welcomed our second child, which was my son Judah. And then, surprise, 7 years later, we had our third and final child, Justice. And I don't know where our lives will be without those 3 children. They are beautiful, wonderful. They have just brought us together closer and allowed us to grow so much. And so that was when we got married and had kids. Number 12 was, how long did we wait for kids? So Sarai came 5 days after our 2-year wedding anniversary. Let me say the numbers again. Number 12, how did you celebrate your 5-year, your 10-year, or your 5 and your 10-year wedding anniversaries? Our 5-year, we took a cruise to the Bahamas, and it's funny because we have had kids around those stages. So at our 5-year anniversary, I believe Judah was still a baby. I'm trying to count back here. We were 23, 28. Yeah, Judah was about 2 years old on our 5 year anniversary, so he was pretty little still. And then on our 10 year wedding anniversary, we had just had Justice. He was, I guess, about 2 months old. A month. Justice was born in June. So, yeah, he was about a month old. And so we didn't do anything for that. However, last year on our 12 year anniversary, we took a couple's cruise to Mexico. So we made up for that. It just took a little time to, raise our youngest. Okay, number 13. What do you love to do together? And that goes along with what we did on our 5 and 10 year anniversaries, or 5 and 12 year anniversaries. We love to travel. We love to travel. That is something that we would love to do more often. Of course, it costs a lot of money, so that gets in the way. But yeah, we love to travel, and we love to watch certain shows. We used to have a bunch of great shows that we loved. Like My Wife and Kids was one of our favorite shows that we used to love that is no longer on. But yeah, that was one of our favorite. And now with our kids, we love to play games. Play Monopoly and things like that. We discovered the Monopoly card game. That was a lot of fun. So yeah, I don't know if I just rambled through this or not. I'm sorry. I got a little confused, got a little off track, but those were my 13 top questions to answer, just to tell you what being married really is like. It is definitely a learning situation every single day. You're learning something new. You're learning that person. You're learning how to bring two people, different upbringings, different opinions on things, different outlook on life. You're bringing those two people together and trying to create one, which is interesting. And sometimes, I mean, it does not come without pain to get there sometimes, except, of course, if it is harming one person or the other, it is definitely not correct. So thank you for watching, and if you have not already subscribed, please click that subscribe button and share with your friends. Also, just to remind you, I do have a contest or a giveaway going on my Instagram and my Facebook pages, and I'll leave the links below. Those contests will be going on until Monday, November 21st, unless I don't get enough entries. Then I am going to extend it, because as of now, there's not a lot of entries. So, enter.